I don't remember exactly when I first noticed the door. Maybe it had always been there, and I'd simply ignored it, the way you ignore the ticking of a clock until someone points it out. Maybe it appeared the same way sleep creeps up on you, gradually, subtly, until you're drowning in it before you realize you ever felt tired. All I know is that one day I saw it, and I could never unsee it. My wife Lisa says I've been distant lately. "You're never here anymore," she told me last week, setting down a cold cup of coffee between us like a barrier. I didn't argue. She wasn't wrong. We used to be happy, I think. But life has a way of making love feel like an obligation. We have a son, Jason. He's 12. He doesn't talk to me much these days, and I don't blame him. The house is filled with a silence heavier than words, and I don't know how to break it. I work late now, not because I have to, but because being home feels wrong in a way I can't explain. Maybe that's why I noticed the door. It was in the hallway near our bedroom, nestled between the linen closet and Jason's room. A plain, wooden thing, painted off white like the rest of the house. I never remembered seeing it before, but that wasn't proof of anything. God knows I don't pay enough attention to the little details. But something about it bothered me. For days I told myself I was being ridiculous. It was just a door. Maybe Lisa had it repainted, or maybe I just never had a reason to look at it closely before. But that didn't explain the way it made me feel. It was like looking at a photo where the perspective was just slightly off, something my brain recognized as wrong, even if I couldn't put my finger on why. Still, I ignored it for a while. Then came the dreams. At first, they were disjointed, a mess of fleeting images that slipped away the moment I woke up. But soon they started to take shape. I dreamed of the door, of standing before it in the dark, staring at it as it stared back. Something waited behind it. Something patient. Something hungry. The dreams got worse. I'd wake up in cold sweat, feeling like I'd been somewhere else. Like I had gotten up in the night, but my body had never left the bed. Then, one night, Lisa shook me awake. "You were sleepwalking," she whispered. "You were just standing in the hallway, staring at the closet." I didn't correct her. I didn't tell her that it wasn't the closet I'd been staring at. It was the door, and I swore it had been open. I started watching the door. Not obsessively at first, just paying attention, passing by it more often, letting my fingers brush the wood as I walked past, feeling the way my stomach tightened when I did. Then one night, I saw it. The door was open. Not much, just a sliver, a breath of darkness yawning into the dim hallway light. The air around it felt wrong, thick and buzzing like the static hum of an old television. I reached out. I don't know why. Some instinct buried deep in my bones screamed at me to walk away, to pretend I never saw it. But my fingers curled around the edge of the door, and Lisa's voice cut through the silence. "What are you doing?" I spun around, heart hammering, the door slamming shut in my peripheral vision. She was standing at the end of the hallway in her robe, arms crossed. Her eyes were dark with exhaustion, but there was something else there too. Something like fear. I stopped, realizing I didn't have an answer. She sighed. "You've been acting weird, and Jason notices it too. He told me you talk in your sleep now. Says he hears you whispering to yourself." My throat was dry. What did I say? She hesitated. Then, "He said it didn't sound like words." I didn't respond. Lisa sighed, shaking her head. "I don't know what's going on with you, but I can't do this anymore. You come home late, you don't talk to me, and now this." She gestured vaguely at me, at the empty hallway. "It's like you're not even here." I wanted to tell her I was here, that I loved her, loved Jason, that I wanted to fix things, that I wanted to be present. But how could I say that when I didn't even feel real anymore? "I need to clear my head," I muttered, brushing past her. I stepped outside into the cold night air, stood on the porch, breathing in deep, listening to the quiet hum of the neighborhood. I didn't know how long I stood there before I finally turned back. And when I did, there were no lights on in the house. No porch light, no glow from Jason's bedroom window. Just darkness, absolute and consuming, like the house had been abandoned for years. A chill ran through me. I stepped forward, hand outstretched. And suddenly, everything snapped back. The lights were on. The house was normal. I could hear Lisa moving in the kitchen, the distant hum of the fridge. My breath shook in my chest. I turned slowly, and through the front window, just barely visible down the hallway, the door was open, wide open, and something stood just beyond it. I didn't see it, not fully. Just the vague suggestion of a shape, the impression of something leaning forward, as if it had been waiting, as if it had been watching me this whole time. A rush of nausea hit me, and I staggered inside, slamming the front door shut. The hallway was empty again. The door was gone, vanished, like it had never been there at all. Lisa found me in the hallway minutes later, shaking, staring at the blank stretch of wall. I don't know what's real anymore. I don't know if it's gone or if it's just somewhere else now, waiting, watching, maybe for me, maybe for someone else. But I know one thing for certain. Some doors should never be opened, and some doors should never exist at all.